Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Ronald. Ronald is the anglicized form of an Old Scandinavian personal name Rögnvaldr, which is derived from the Old Norse elements Regan meaning advice, decision, also the gods, and Valdr meaning ruler. The name was brought first to northern England and Scotland by way of the Viking invaders and Scandinavian settlers in the early Middle Ages. It was also borne by a 12th century Scottish/Norwegian saint, Ragnvald Kale Kollsson, also known as St. Ronald or St. Ronald of Orkney. He was a warrior chieftain in the Orkney Islands, Scotland, and is credited with building the cathedral St. Magnus at Kirkwall in 1137. Ronald was later murdered by a group of rebelling warriors and was venerated as a martyr at Kirkwall. He was canonized before the century was over. Ronald was a regularly used name in Scotland during medieval times and became widespread among all English-speaking nations by the 19th century. Personality of the boy named Ronald. The number one personality is a leader, strong and competitive. They are willing to initiate action and take risks. One personalities work hard toward their endeavors and have the ability to apply their creative and innovative thinking skills with strong determination. They believe in their ability to succeed and are too stubborn to be hindered by obstacles. Ones meet obstacles head-on with such mental vigor and energy that you better step aside. They resent taking orders, so don't try telling them what to do either. This is an intensely active personality, but they are also known as starters rather than finishers. They have a propensity to become bored and will move quickly to the next project if not properly challenged. They are the ones to think up and put into action new and brilliant ideas, but they are not the ones to stick around and manage them. This personality has an enthusiastic and pioneering spirit. They are distinctly original. Popularity of the boy named Ronald. The name Ronald first appeared on the male naming charts in 1883. At first, the name achieved only low to moderate levels of success, but by the 1920s, Ronald was headed straight for the big time. By the 1930s, the name was a top 20 favorite. In fact, Ronald could be considered one of the more popular names of 20th century America. His best decade was no doubt the 1940s, when the name Ronald was given to about 30,000 little boys a year. Ronald, Ronnie, and Ron all have a very mid-century quality, like Jerry, Larry, Donald, and Dennis. We also can't help associating this name with the advertising clown for McDonald's fast food empire or with our nation's 40th president, Ronald Reagan. In any case, Ronald was a top 20 choice for little boys for almost 30 straight years, 1930s, 40s and 50s, and the name maintained a spot on the top 100 list for 65 straight years, finally falling off in 1991. As we've entered this new century, the name Ronald has clearly been left behind. It's by far and away considered an outdated choice within the current naming fashions of today. However, lest we forget about Ronald Weasley, a much-liked character and loyal friend to Harry Potter, who has helped a little to re-establish his outmoded name. Quick facts on Ronald. Gender, boy. Origin, Nordic. Number of syllables, 2. Ranking popularity, 403. Pronunciation, Ronald or Ronald. Simple meaning, having God's power, wise ruler. Characteristics of Ronald. Strong-willed, inventive, individualistic, independent, successful, ambitious. Cultural references to the baby name, Ronald. Literary characters of the baby name Ronald. Ron, along with Hermione, is Harry Potter's BFF at Hogwarts. He is the typical sidekick to Harry's celebrity and Hermione's brains, often providing comic relief. Ronald is naturally insecure and intimidated by his famous family and others in the spotlight. He is fearful of not measuring up, even though he himself is a pure-blood wizard. Yet Ron is smart and brave and always there for Harry. Hero himself? No, but it's his loyalty to his friend that allows Harry to shine even more brightly as the hero. Famous people named Ronald. Ronald Ferguson, father of Sarah, Duchess of York; Ronald George Rayford Norrish, Nobel Prize winner; chemistry, Ronald Ross, Nobel Prize winner; medicine, Ronnie James Dio; singer, Ronald Dupree; basketball player, Ronald Evans; astronaut, Ronnie Wood; musician, Ronald Flemons; football player, Ronald Breslow; pioneer in organic chemistry, Ronald Francis; hockey player, Ronald Joseph; figure skater, Ronald Hall; my beloved stepfather, R.I.P., Ronald Scott; former lead singer of AC/DC, Ronnie Drew; Irish singer and a founding member of the Dubliners, Ronald Bellamy; football player, Ron Paul; politician, Ronald Fields; football player, Ronald H. Coase; Nobel Prize winner, economics, Ronald Coleman; actor/entertainer, Ronald Curry; football player, Ronald Reagan; actor/U.S. President. Historic figures with the name Ronald. The great communicator and former Hollywood actor knew just how to speak rhetoric to the American people and tell them exactly what they wanted to hear. He was tough-talking, conservative and deeply patriotic. He was also the oldest president ever to be elected at the age of 69. Love him or hate him, Reagan was a substantial figure in American history, and many events marked his time in office. On his day of inauguration, the hostages were sent home from Iran. The next 8 years saw the following: the explosion of the Challenger, the almost assassination of Reagan, the Iran-Contra affair, Reaganomics, the head-scratching Star Wars initiative, and the end of the Cold War. Reagan almost viewed America as a place he remembered from a 1930s movie, and he was often emotionally detached from very real domestic issues such as AIDS, women's rights, and homelessness. He will never be known as the brightest or most hands-on president, but he was a solid leader and a good talker. He also had a wonderful sense of humor. His wife Nancy was said to be quite influential, providing him with guidance based on her astrological readings. As First Lady, she is often remembered for the "Just Say No" slogan associated with her fight against alcohol abuse among young people. Ronald Reagan was the 40th President of the United States, serving 2 terms throughout the 1980s. Prior to that, Reagan was the governor of California during the late 60s and 1970s. Previous to that, Ronald Reagan was a successful radio, film, and television actor. What a life he had! As president, Reagan set about to fulfill his campaign promise to restore a great confident roar of American progress and growth and optimism. His presidency is remembered for his Reaganomics which included the reduction of taxes, manipulating the money supply to reduce inflation, deregulation of industries, and decreasing government expenditures, except, that is, when it came to building up our military strength. America became prosperous again, and Reagan was easily re-elected to a second term as national confidence soared. Reagan's second term is remembered mainly for its foreign policies: the ending of the Cold War, the war with Libya, and the disgraceful Iran-Contra situation, from which Reagan deftly distanced himself. Reagan would die 15 years after leaving office of Alzheimer's disease, leading some to speculate over his lucidness during the last years of his presidency. Nonetheless, Ronald Reagan is remembered fondly, if not nostalgically, and still ranks high in public opinion polls. He is the last great hero of the Republican Party.